Welcome to Thursday Night Knives. I'm Bob DeMarco. Coming up, we're going to take a look at the Prometheus Design Works new Out the Front, OTF, that is. And then we're going to have a topic of discussion. We're going to talk about the Holy Knife Trinity. Is it still relevant? And we're going to use a bunch of oldies but goodies in my state of the collection to illustrate the point. If you're not familiar with the Trinity of knives, this is Chris Reeve knives, Hinderer knives, and Stryder knives. At one time, I think I misspelled that, Jim. My apologies. At one time, those three Stryder. I think that's spelled with an I. We'll take a look at that. But at one time, those were considered the premium, that like the state of the art. Yeah, it is with an I in folding knives. And nothing else came close. Of course, years later, that has changed, but there's still some stink left over from that idea. I think I certainly. Well, I wouldn't say I adhere to it, but there are many great things in that. Anyway, we're going to talk all about it. Is the Holy Knife Trinity still relevant with this explosion of the knife world? First, of course, as always, a pocket check. Let's take a look at what I was carrying today, and let me know what you were carrying. Of course, that's a big part of the recipe right here. Today, in my front right pocket, was the Chris Reeve knives Umnumzan. This is the Tanto version. I absolutely adore this knife, obviously, because you wouldn't go to the trouble and expense to get this knife if you didn't love it and then keep it afterward. I've left well, actually, I got it. I took this off. I put it back on. And now I'm ready to take it back off, that fob. I always, it's like damned if you do, damned if you don't, the way I see it. I frequently feel like a special knife deserves some little piece of jewelry like that. But then when it's on, it's kind of annoying to me. So I'll probably take it off again. Great Tanto design. You got that chisel zero ground tip, and then a very deep hollow grind, and then a pretty far back, pretty high relief edge there. So that this thing is super sharp, and it's got years of life in it because of that sharpening choil there and that thinness behind the edge with the hollow grind. Nice blasted titanium, basically made for snail trails and made for that awesome blasted titanium finish, that sort of patina. And here we have cross hatching. Milled in. That's standard on this knife, and it's cool that they do it on the lock side as well. One thing that has always struck me odd, or not struck me odd, but is different about this knife is when you deploy it, if you flip it out with your thumb, it's a real soft landing there. And that's because it's got those rubber gaskets around the thumb studs, which are also the blade stop. So I always wonder if those go away somehow, if those dry up and crack off. Is then the lockup on this knife not as tight because you don't have that soft medium between the two hard pieces of metal? I just wonder if there's a lot of compression in there. Will that make the lockup bad if those dry up and go away? I don't know. Makes me wonder. But so that was my front right pocket today, and very happy to be carrying that. Very lucky man to have that knife. Hey, Dave, how's it going? Never heard of that Trinity, but I've heard of the CEO and Junkie in Chief, Bobby D. Evening all. Good to have you here, Dave. You've never heard of that royal triumvirate of modern, old new stock, if you will. Dion Page, good to have you here, sir. Here's what I don't know. Is it craftsmanship, material, quality, and durability, or design, usability, and price that constitutes a spot in the Holy Trinity, or something else? Cold Steel, Spyderco, Kershaw. You raise an interesting point, Dion. My thinking was it was the Hinderer, Chris Reeve knives, and the Stryders were the first really well-built, expensive, robust, production, albeit small and hard to find, but production knives out there in the, and the generation after that, which we will get to, but mimic some of the robustness, but with some of the more modern features. Byron, good to see you here, sir. Howdy, Bob, Jim, Junkies. Thursday Night Knives. And for me, it would be Cold Steel, Spyderco, and Benchmade, though I'm not a Benchmade, huge Benchmade fan. Quack, good to see you here, sir. Heyo, he says. Well, heyo to you. On the Edge 72, hey, Junkies. I see two glasses coming together. That means it's Thursday night. Blade Ogre. Chris, good to have you here, sir. Hello, all, he says. Aberdeen Blades. Hello, party people. Well, hello, Aberdeen Blades. I like your moth in your coat of arms there. That's pretty cool. Never Enough Knives 007. Hola, Junkies. I'm ready for my weekly blade fix. Absolutely. Thank you, sir. Ketmuk, good to see you here. Ketmuk Neshart. Ketmuk, I got to get back to you on something, and now I can't remember what it is. But good to have you here nonetheless. What were you guys carrying? My other carry today was Matt Harvey. Matt, good to see you here. Hello, Bob, Jim, and all knife junkies. Matt, it's awesome to have you. Today, I had this little gem in my pocket. Quack said, love the carry marks on your Zahn, Bob. Thank you, Quack. Those a lot of those love marks came from the previous owner. I think this was owned several times, but it ain't going nowhere from here. And I am keeping track, Quack, of the. This is my first fully blasted full titanium knife, and I'm keeping track of the rate of snail trails in this. Pretty deep blasting on this titanium. It's finally starting to feel smooth and less grippy and aggressive. This is my Goose Works Mekong Delta combat folder. So I want this to someday look like this. This Zahn seems to have gotten a lot of love. It's been sharpened, and this particular edge is exquisite, and I haven't used it much, so I don't expect it. I don't expect to need to sharpen it anytime soon. Just, strop it obsessively. Next up in my front left pocket, these were my two main carry. Then I had a third knife along for the ride that sat on my desk and got fiddled with as I worked. Okay. Number two is the Jack Wolf Knives Laid Back Jack. That's probably not a surprise. You've been seeing a lot of the Jack Wolf Knives this month. This is the second release. We just went live today. So if you're interested in this incredible modern build of a traditional swayback jack with some tweaks from Mr. Ben Belkin, expert and connoisseur of slip joint knives, especially custom slip joint knives. He has turned his knowledge and design talents towards his own knife company. And the first 6 months of the company, which started last month, will see a new knife each month. And this is the second month. And God, I love it. I love it. The first month was amazing. This one is probably, this is my favorite pattern overall. I think in traditional slip joint knives, that sway back. I like that he took the sway back and that he took that handle and reduced some of that upward curve. It's just a little bit more subtle now and a little bit more friendly in all grips. This sort of pairing grip is excellent for this style handle, but it doesn't need to be that curved to use it like that. So very, very psyched about this knife. I'm also very happy to see the micarta patina on me. I'm starting to like how it's going to look. I have avoided putting linseed oil on that. I just put some on my Vero engineering knife. I can never, ever get this to absorb oil. This is how it came. I've put so many coats of oil in this, and kind of sometimes I've let it sit. Other times I try and rub it in, no matter what, to get it back to where I want to hold it and it doesn't feel oily. It always comes back to that. So I'm that's what it is. Aesthetically, sometimes things stick in your craw, but it doesn't affect the utility. And then again, I don't really have that for utility. So, all right. And last up on me, one of my new faves lately is the off-grid knives Enforcer, not to be mistaken with the gigantic Enforcer XL that I've shown off a lot here. Chunky Cut, good to see you. Evening greetings, he says. Good to see you. Good to have you. Hey, what's up, Edwin? Good to have you here, man. I have a CQC 13 out just in case you showed up, because I wanted to ask you if you got in on the Blade Show CQC 13. I just had a conversation with Alicia Newton of Blade Show. She's the director of Blade Shows. She's the woman who puts the whole damn thing together, and she's gonna be this Sunday's guest on the podcast. And she was talking about how cool it was and what an honor it was working with Ernest Emerson on their on an exclusive Blade Show knife, and they ended up doing the CQC 13, and he hand ground each one of them. I can't remember, 25 maybe, hand ground each one of them, and then signed it on the back. Ernest Emerson, I think Blade Show 2022. So Edwin, did you get one? I mean, you have every other Emerson. I'm pretty sure you have every single other Emerson, and that is, oh man, I'd love to have your collection, I gotta say, but who wouldn't? Anyway, so this is the the EDC version of the gigantic off-grid knives Enforcer XL, my official door pocket knife. This one here is the new Red Dawn edition. This does not live in my car. My standard D2 version does. This is in 154 cm. That is a beautiful big slab of 154 cm. I love 154 cm, one of my absolute favorite steels, speaking of Emerson's. And I do love how Off-Grid Knives does it. And this knife is so incredibly fidgety. I'm going to come over to this camera for a sec just to show you how drop shutty it is. I mean, it's a little blade too, you know, it's 3 1/4 inches, you know, that quote unquote perfect EDC length. And it just has exquisite action. Best Tech made, you know, they do all the off-grid knives now, even their elite line. And so yeah, I was carrying this today. I've been really liking this. I can tell I'm getting older because I am starting to like some of the small knives. Talk about small knives. Here's another off-grid knife that I love, the tiny mini Rhino. It's so cool. It's such a great little knife. And it is a, you know, it's pretty much a pound for pound copy of the big brother of the Rhino. That's the V2 with 154 cm. I love off-grid knives. I talk about a lot. I know they're just good, sturdy, well-designed, handsome, and affordable knives made by one of my favorite OEMs, one of my top 3 OEMs, and that's Best Tech. So for me, what's not to love? Oh, and plus, I really like Kerry. He's a great guy. We have an affiliate link on any of the videos. If you watch a review, you'll be able to link through using that. And it is the one knife company so far, I should say, that I've accepted an affiliate link from, and I proudly bandy it about and buy as many off-grid knives as you want. Line these pockets with filthy lucre. I said Luger. Okay, well, that's what I was carrying today. I had the Umnumzan Tonto, and that's the first time I've messed up since I've adopted the proper pronunciation. And of course, the Jack Wolf knives, Laid Back Jack. Manny, good to see you, Manny Z. What were you carrying today, Manny? Let me know. And the rest of you, let me know. Prometheus. I'll have to check that OTF, since I'm carrying their Bally. Oh, yes, in Thai CF. I remember when you got that. Okay, so this looks a lot like that. In the handle, it's very much a Prometheus handle. You know, it's got the fluting and that you know, the parallel lines and the curved end. But it's got a really nice look. Well, we'll get to it in a minute, but it's got a really nice looking clip point blade. Also, the T-Kel Guardian fixed blade scout carry on the belt. I love that. That warms the cockles of my heart that you're wearing that. That's a triple-edged knife, and you're wearing it scout carry, just chilling. I love that. And by the way, Dave, there's Old Sword Blade Reviews, knows how to use it too. Quack carrying the Gareth Bull Chamois. That is a nice knife. Very nice. And that's the That is not the that's the real deal. So he's the South African maker. Didn't he do a Wii version with it, or through drop the Sham Weary? Was that, am I remembering that correctly? But I think you've mentioned this knife before. You're talking about the real deal. Chris McNair, what's up? Good to see you, man. I got it close by all times. I love this thing. And you know what, Chris? First trade in a long time, and I'm interested in the whole idea. Haven't traded much in a long time, and that trade went so well. Maybe that's a good way to freshen up the collection without necessarily having to sell something and go through that rigmarole. Mark, good to have you here. Mark Herrera, evening, y'all. He says, what were you carrying, Mark? Chunky cut. Today's carry just arrived. Oh, nice. My concept Shikari in Timascus and Umnumzan in S45. So nice. Wait, that Shikari, is that the one by Cones Craft? By Cones, can't remember his first name. Oh man, he's a dude. He's out of Canada. He's just kind of a hobbyist knife maker, but he makes these incredible, beautiful fixed blade knives. And then he's designed a number of really great folders now. And I haven't had any of them, and I want them. Is that what the Shikari is? If not, remind me. Michael, good to have you here. Michael Morgan, evening, Bob and Jim. He says, evening to you, sir. Scott N, good to have Scott N with us. Steel Ovan, a pleasure. We have some patrons here, man. Very nice. Thank you. Kep McNesshart, hoping to snag one of those laid back jacks tomorrow. Oh man, look at the carbon fiber this time. This what are they? I can't remember what they call it. It's like a green kind of a camo fat carbon. It's gorgeous, man. I'm actually thinking of getting a second one just to get my hands on that carbon fiber, but that would not be prudent at all. So I'm not going to do that. Blade Ogre says, carrying the Quiet Carry Drift, Protect Bren 3. I love that knife. The Hogue EX04 Emperor Scorpion. We had that one here. Call it my Scorpio Chef. The Spartan Palace, Sog Seal XR Bowie, Hinderer XM18 Recurve, and Case Cheetah for the light tasks. My God. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think you just broke your record. I mean, because I think your record here is 7. I don't know what your personal best is, but man, nicely done, and one better than the next, or than the last. Very nicely done. Edwin, today's carry, the Emerson Commander, the JB Knife Guild Fixie Libre. That is cool. And the GEC 35. Which one's the 35? I cannot remember. When I'm not in a GEC phase, I tend to forget the numbers that I don't have, and some of the ones that I do. Chunky Cut says, I'm just not into the Jack Wolf stuff. No traditionals and nail necks. I hear you. It's not for everyone. Some people develop that as their first knife love. That was mine. Slip joints were my first knives. And I came back to it, I don't know, like in 2008 or something, when GEC started to bubble up. And it's not for everybody. Just like the giant cold steels aren't for everybody. All of these swords are fixed blades. Not everyone's into them. Byron Kennedy says, my morning carry was the Cold Steel Recon 1, but afternoon tonight is the Enforcer XL Red Dawn edition. Well, then here's to you, sir. Got mine right here. This is awesome. This is a limited edition. If you like the off-grid knives and you like the bellied Warncliffs, or as some like to call them, reverse Tantos, and you like a big knife, check this out with this red and the 154 CM. Alamander, good to have you here. I tried mineral oil on my UTX 85 and gummed it up. It was the first time I had used that as a lubricant. Let's see. So I watched a video on the Microtech website, and they were very they used a specific gun oil, I think, and I used Hops number 9, or just a different gun oil, and gummed mine up too. And it took a while of just, so what I ended up doing was opening it and then leaving it tipped down, on a cutting board, so it, thinking it could drain, a little bit drained out, and then I would leave it closed like that, and over time, and opening and closing, you might be able to clear it out like that. Otherwise, I don't know. I don't know. You might want to send it in. Chunky Cut, my Enforcer XL Red Dawn arrives this weekend. Not sure cheaper fun can be had. You know what? I'm with you on that. Like the off-grid knives are mostly affordable, and then there are a couple of expensive ones, and the expensive ones are what we expect from expensive. Alex, good to see you here. Alex from the Watch and Cut channel, formerly the Knife Box. I love your new logo. Good to have you here. Hey, Bob, hope all is well with you. I hope all is well with you too, Alex. Great to have you here. Hero Sticks, evening and cheers all. Well, cheers to you, Hero Sticks. I swear I'm going to get these knives out to you shortly. I just have to make a couple more videos. A couple of newbies carried today. Boker Field Plus folder in black and brass. Boker Plus Field folder in black and brass, and a complimentary Boker Plus Nesme Pro small fixie. That sounds cool. I love a Nesmuk and a small fix like that, but fixie in a Nesmuk blade sounds nice. But what's this Field Plus folder in black and brass? Ha, thanks, bro. Yeah, I grabbed one. Such a great Bowie, no question. That makes me feel good, Edwin. I knew, like, you're the first person I thought of, and I'm like, I bet he already has one. Not already has one, but has one, reserved. Good for you, man. Smash that like button. That's right, Michael. Thank you. Like and comment and subscribe, of course. I carried the small Sebenza 21 Moon Landing. That is a cool knife. That's a special one. That's got the blue jewel. Is that like a sapphire or something? Doesn't have a little blue sphere in it? Manny Z, Riot Wave. That's a cool knife. I haven't heard or thought about the Wave in a while. Some of the early Riots are sweet. Not that that's necessarily an early one. Michael Morgan says, today's carry Hogue EX01 button lock with a 4-inch Tanto. Nice. And green G Mascus and a Rough Rider Reserve lock stock in D2 and polished blue micarta. That sounds nice. Lock stock. What is that? Is that the gun stock, Jack? I had to do that to remember what it was. Gary, good to see you. Gary Gorosky. Hi, Bob. Thanks to you, I ordered a Goose Works folder. Yes. Okay, that's great, Gary. I'm happy about that. I've reached out to these guys. But then I saw that they have a phone number, so I'm just gonna call them. I think they're probably old-fashioned dudes. I'm just gonna call them up. So this thing is awesome. And my funny thing is, Gary, my dad called me because last time they came to visit, I gave him my copy of what's the book? The Jack Carr book, that they're making a movie out of, and all of a sudden I can't think of it. Blood. Anyway, I was reading that last year at Blade Show, and in it he talks about a lot of really Jack Carr. The main character is a Navy SEAL. He talks about a lot of cool gear, and one thing he mentions is not this knife, but the first knife from Resco Instruments. He also talks about the watches. And so my dad sends me a text, and he's like, what's up with these Resco knives? Have you heard of them? And I'm like, Dad, have you not been watching the video or the podcast the last 2 weeks? Huh? Have you just outed yourself? Because he is my number one fan. And he's like, I got to get one of these. So I sent him a photograph of it, and I hope he gets one too. I'm glad, Gary, mine came really quickly, and it came very unceremoniously wrapped in some of that paper that's like foam, and that was just taped to the inside of a priority box, like no pomp and circumstance at all, which is freeing. It's very freeing. Just like Jack Reacher, just have a t-shirt and jeans and just stroll across the country. Kane A, hey, evening all. Good to have you here, Kane. Carried my JG Scout and the 4V SPK Shark today. Ooh, nice. 4V. Mine is a different steel. Anyway, I love the Shark. It was one of my favorite fixed blades, and that made the list for cardboard destroyers. My great cardboard destroyer, Morgan Cones. Thank you. Yes, the Shikari is the 4-inch Bowie clip. Man, that is a cool looking knife. That is a very nice looking knife. And I just saw Kevin Cleary posted a video of his Shikari, and it's got serious Mr. Furley issues. It's got like all of these patterns. And he actually raises the question, is this too much? And, yes, it is. But this is one of those places where too much, if you like it, just doesn't matter. Sharp and Stabby, good to have you here, Sharp and Stabby. Pretty lightweight load today. Tops Tack Raise, that's a cool knife. That's their friction folder take on the straight razor with a recurve blade. Okay, so that's the one. Gotcha. And the Hogue RSK, very nice. Do you have any friction folders, Bob? I do not. I've wanted the Svord peasant knife. I think that's cool because each one is they're forged and each one is finished a little differently, but they're mounted on these really cheap handles. And I've also wanted the Bastinelli Drago Tack friction folder. And I've often thought that if I ever decided to make a folder, I would start with a friction folder because I have cut out the paper and made it work. I've just never bothered to actually make one. Having a plan to ride a tiger and riding the tiger are two different things. Agent Orange Peel, good to have you here, Agent Orange Peel. Carried 2 of the 3 from the trilogy today, Omnum Zahn and SNG. Very nice. Okay, Agent Orange Peel, you got to let me know. Start this conversation as I show off the Gentleman Junkie knife giveaway. Start tapping away. Let me know, Agent Orange Peel, does the triumvirate, does the Holy Trinity of knives, of modern tactical folders, of modern folders, does it still exist, or has it just been completely obscured by a nicely, happily, gladly growing and exploding knife world? Mark Herrera, Benchmade Grizzly Ridge. Well, that's a cool knife. I like the Grizzly Ridge. And the Manly Comrade in 1.2379 D2. Okay. So Manly Knives, that's a are they Bulgarian or are they Ukrainian? Or where are they from? Manly Knives. They don't now you have to they had something happened with Manly Knives where they stopped selling them here or something like that. Now you have to go to European distributors to buy Manly Knives. Is that right? There's something. And we did a story on that a while ago. Ketmuk says, today I am carrying a Wood Steel Knives Mini Snake Eater. Ooh, that's a cool name. A Bear Forest Knives Pumuk and a Griptilian and a Buck Budgie. Oh, that's the little one. Is that the one in S35? And of course, the Eldris. Ketmuk, you're catching up. You're catching up to Chris with all the blades. El Gato, good to have you here, El Gato. Today I was carrying the Hinderer XM 18 3.5 skinny harpoon Spanto with dog paw scales. That's cool. Dog paw show scale clip and nuts. Dog nuts, mini dog nuts. Spell check. Very nice carry. I love the Hinderers, as you know, the XMs, as you know, but I've never tried a skinny, and I am interested. I'd love to try a skinny recurve if that exists. Shane, good to have you here, Shane Gables. I haven't carried a knife in 12 days. Oh, man. Oh, geez, man. Been in bed sick with a blood infection. My Lord. Yeah, that's right. I remember you mentioned that last week. So sorry to hear that, Shane. Do you have knives around you is the question, but also, man, I hope you are on the mend. I hope you are on the upward trajectory. Please let us know how you're doing. And, let us know, when you think you'll be up and about and carrying knives. I know it's going to be in no time. I know you're a robust guy, and we're all thinking about you and sending you some good juju. El Gato says, I brought my dog in today to be fixed, so it seemed fitting, poor boy. Oh, man. Yeah, happens to the best of them. Sorry to hear that. He walked in happy. He walked out happy. You know why? Because he was with you, and he realized that without you, he wouldn't have much of a life or a life at all. So it's a fair trade, I think, is what he was thinking. Nick Martino, good to have you here, Nick. Happy Thursday Night Knives, Bob and Jim and fellow junkies, he says, with those two really cool Spydercos right there. Kind of interested in a PM2, either Warncliffe or Tonto, just to give the PM2 another chance. I mean, I still have my classic version of it, but you know, Quack, you're correct, Bob. We did a run of the Shamwiri, and another one is coming up soon. Oh, very cool. But I know that yours is the handmade. Got the Red Dawn on the way. Oh my God, that's awesome, man. That's 3 tonight. 3 tonight. Well, I hope one of you, or all of you, or 2 of you even use the affiliate link. That'd just be the icing on the cake. But just knowing that I helped get a couple of these super cool knives in the hands of some of you super cool dudes. I love that. And that's what we all do with these channels, right? Get other people excited about knives that excite us. Nick, I thought no lubricant was needed without out the fronts. I don't think so. Yeah, that's what it is. Microtech likes REM oil. That's right. That's what they said. And I'm like, REM oil. I was like, how much like if this is REM oil, this stuff here is also made for moving parts on guns. It should work. And man, it was not like the video. 9198 David, good to see you. Carried my Spyderco Nirvana and off-grid Scorpion today. Very nice. I like the Scorpion. Do you have the we-made Scorpion, like the older school one with the S35? Or do you have the newer school one with the M390 made by Best Tech? Just curious. I love them both. Michael Morgan says, yes, Bob, gun stock lockback. Okay. Oh, lockback. That's cool. I like those Rough Rider Reserves, man. They're pretty cool. Chris Wolf, today's carry, the Buck Max Light 2 fixed. Buck Max. Oh, is that a smaller one designed by Hood? I don't remember what his first name was. He was kind of a famous camping guy. Let me know. Those are cool looking knives. Nick Martino, LOL. I thought I was your number one fan. Huh? What? I'm spacing. Sorry, I just totally lost it there. Shredder, hey guys, we got Jonathan and Ezekiel. Oh, I got you. Okay. Good evening, everyone. We are carrying the Work Tough gear. Oh, Mr. Bushman today. It's a beast. I got to get a Work Tough gear in my life somehow. They're making just some really cool designs. The kukri they did recently was so cool. Blade Boy SFV. Hey, yo. What's good, y'all? Well, Blade Boy SFV. Good to have you here, man. Just chilling out, talking knives. And here Mike Flamian comes marching in with his Randall M14, Model 14. I love that. I love that knife. And I also love that Mike Flamian carries his, and who knows how much he uses it, but it's there and ready for use. I have a Randall right here, and it's somewhat similar, to what he's carrying. Randall Model 14, Victorinox Cadet, and Grimsmo Rask, and Spyderco Arc neck knife. Man, that is classy carry. That's about as classy as it gets. Now, the 14 has a similar handle to the 16, right? With the grooves, though I think the grooves might even be deeper in the 14, or maybe they just look, or something's different with the pommel. There's something different with the handle, but blade. This is the 16 special fighter, and so it has the number 1 blade on it. Hey, what's up, Raphael? We have Treddy here with us. Good to have you here, man. This guy, oh my God, he's been posting some pictures and selling some things, just totally drool worthy. Hey, James, what's up? James Moore. You're right. At least that's why they don't call me the flashlight junkie. James was showing off some of his amazing kit last night, and something that caught me. Well, he had a Persian by Richard Rogers that was really cool, and then some flashlight. I've seen it before. It is so cool looking, and I commented on it. It looks alienish. It looks like something that a different species would use. Very cool. Quack, the Svord Mini Peasants was my first EDC knife. Oh, how cool. Heard about it from Wrangler Stars channel. I don't know that channel. Sounds cool if he's talking about the Svord mini peasant. That's sweet. What about the 80/20 Spartan Harzy folder and Arius? Okay, all right. I am not going to put Arius on that list, but not only because I haven't really, I've experienced it, but only once, and it was exquisite, but slightly different from kind of what I'm talking about. Um, uh, I'm talking about something that you would look forward to, some sort of nasty, harsh challenge. You would look forward to pulling out this knife and using it because you're like, no, 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 I have this knife and it can handle it. And I'm sure that knife can handle it, the Koenig Arius. I mean, exquisite as it is. However, I think I would feel very sheepish about using it like that because I'd be worried about damaging it. Whereas these others, I wouldn't so much. And I'm going to start breaking those out right here in a sec. Nick Martino, it's hard not to talk about Terzuola. He's an OG in my book. Oh, 100% for sure. Absolutely. Never so much of a production guy, though. I mean, he's done some designs to production houses and such, and production companies. But a Terzuola, it's not so easy to come by. But yeah, I hear you. Blade Boy says Bob Casper Dragon and Crawford knives, the first fixed blades I loved. I love Bob Casper. I love he did some really cool, a couple of cool collaborations with Al Polkowski, who made some of my favorite. Manly is Bulgarian. Thank you. Who made some of my favorite stash away fixed blade knives. Elgato says the old trilogy is dead. The new trilogy is Grimsmo, Holt, Koenig. Oh, Elgato, all right, calm down. These are fine knives that you're talking about, but they're a different cast of royalty here. I fear that the royalty you speak of is the royalty that gets overthrown. Um, I don't know why I speak such heresy here, but got with me the Deshorn large ball release model with Damasteel, Zerk bolsters, and marbled CF scales. And over ready Boss 35 flashlight so I can see it in the dark. Very nice. Is that the one from last night? That was so cool. Chunky Cut. I think the Trinity exists for those of us who were buying knives in the early. Yes, exactly. All right, that's what it is. And I did realize that after setting this up. I'm like, clearly this is a matter of age and how long you've been spending your money on this. Cones also did a Best Tech, the Togata. That one is my favorite of his collaboration knives. Texas American Dane, good to have you here, sir. I carried my PM2 with Arctic Storm fat carbon fiber scales, which sound awesome. And my Just Glass Bead Blasted Umnumzan, very nice. Just Glass Bead Blasted, that's cool. Taken back to the normal state, the original state. And my Jurassic, nice. With milled titanium handle blue scales. Jeez, man, nice carry. Let me show this off before I wheel out in their gurneys and wheelchairs, the Trinity, and how I see it. And then I want to get more Trinities like Elgato laid out. He said Grimsmo, Holt, and Grimsmo, Holt, and Koenig. Very interesting. I actually I'd love to hear what you all think, how you define the Trinity and what you think it is. This will be the giveaway knife next week. This is the Shielden Boa. This thing is bad to the bone. I love this thing. It's a 4-inch, nearly 4-inch, very interesting drop point Tonto. I'm calling it a drop point because so close to the front, it drops down. Maybe it's a clip point Tonto. Maybe that's what I should call it. Whatever you call it, it's not it's not how you spell it, son. It's how you eat it. But anyway, it's D2 steel and on this incredible action here. Really cool sculpted layered G10 handle scales and a nice nice construction. I mean, the whole thing, I've been talking about it for weeks. I'm just looking forward to getting it out of here, because otherwise it's going to get, it's likely to, it would be, oh, I'd fall, it would drop, and I'd get a little tiny nick on it somewhere, and I'd be like, oh, I can't give this away now. It's mine. So we're giving it away. You can thumb flick it. You can spidey flick it and slow roll it. Just a very cool and useful knife with those two very distinct edges. It's not just you're not just using that secondary tip, you're using that whole secondary edge. So just a very cool knife. That's the Shielden Boa, and it comes in this nice Cordura, or anyway, Cordura-like nylon case, the kind of thing you might find a multi-tool in. I think it goes in like that. There we go. All right. So just if you're interested, or if you just want to support us, you can go to theknifejunkie.com/Patreon and sign up, and boom, you're on the magic wheel of destiny to win a new knife. Awesome. All right. So we've been talking about here. This is the original definition here. Hinderer XM18. You got the Chris Reeve knives, Sebenza 21, and then the SNG, or in this case, the Stryder SMF. I don't go SNG. That's small. It's a small knife. It's puny. No, I'm just kidding. I just like the SMF better. The Trinity is Dolica, Mermaid, and Evatac. I'm not sure I know that last one, but I think you might be right about that. Gary says, it's funny you're talking about the Holy Trinity today. I posted mine on Instagram this morning. Oh, cool. What was it? Is it these three knives, or these three? I miss my Shamwiri, says Alex. I think I remember yours. Wasn't it wood? Didn't you have some like exotic wood? Blade Boy says, out the front needs real light oil. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I learned that the hard way. John Ruff, good to have you here, sir. Boker Bad Guy is in the pocket today. That's a cool knife. That big, fat Lanny's clip. French knife maker designed that knife, and he makes them custom. And what the hell was his name? Oh, I was all impressed with myself because I figured out how to pronounce it in French. Hopefully I was right. Gary says, I'm carrying my modded ZT 550 today that I won from Satu Dave. Wow, those are two things I haven't heard in a while. The Satu, that is, not Satu Dave. The Satu in the 550. Man, I always wanted a 550 after they were available. And every once in a while, you'll see one come up and it gets snatched immediately. Ancient Orange Peel says, the Trinity will always be a thing to me. At the very least, they are the originals. Yes, they provided a lot to the community. Number one for me is CRK. They are the Porsche, boring to some, but always respected. I am with you, and I love Porsches. And to say they are boring is to show your shallowness. So I agree with you, sir. Porsche rocks, and these all are awesome. But I would also say that, like all things, the category has expanded. Chris Wolf says, going to take your advice and give off-grid a try. Any suggestions on fixed? Yes, depending on what your druthers are. One of the most interesting fixed blades they make is the Grizzly. It is an outdoor camp / chef's knife. I swear it is awesome. I love it. It's an Aus 8 blade. Don't let that turn you off. It is broad and thin, extremely useful. It is our travel knife now, just in terms of when we go somewhere that has a kitchen, we do that a bit. That is our travel knife for when we go to our mountain place and all that. And so I really love that knife. The other knife I really love is less utilitarian and more tactical, and that's this, the off-grid knives. Here, I'll put it under the camera. This is the Backcountry Coyote. Coyote referring to the handle and sheath color. This has that gray titanium nitrate coating on the Cryo D2. Very sharp. The original ones were hollow ground. These are flat ground, but they made some serious improvements to this. subtle but serious. It's a much more comfortable knife than the original. You can now get them in a black blade with the tan handle, which is nice, and it does have a somewhat hand filling handle. It's a pretty big, a broad handle, but my hands are medium, and I find this very comfortable. The original version had different milling, different treatment of the G10, same profile handle, and it's not as comfortable. This one just melts in the hand. This is a great knife. I really dig this. So I would say for me personally, it would either be the Grizzly or the Backcountry Coyote. All right. Mike says the Randall Model 14 has a cut down tang with a leather handball. Oh, like on the I mean leather handle, like on the number one. Okay. Oh God, I want to see that. I want to see that. Chris McNair says carried my AD 20.5 Shark's Foot, of course. Now got Pop's Buck 110. That's awesome for a little support after a rough day. I hear you, man. It gets better. I've had a rough couple of weeks here, and slowly getting better. 1 minute knife review. Hello, everybody. Well, 1 minute knife review. It's good to have you here, man. We're talking about the Holy Trinity. Of course, not the Holy Trinity, the Knife Trinity. And it was that original group of really hard use, but also luxury knives. The Hinderer XM series, the Sebenza by Chris Reeve Knives, and the Stryder SMF SNG. And that light you mentioned is my Reaver Arms Citadel. That thing is cool. That thing is cool. The Reaver Arms Citadel. I can see why people would go gaga over a flashlight like that. That's pretty damn cool. Chunky Cut, thank you, man. Couldn't verify the affiliate link worked when checking out, so enjoy this tip. LOL. Keep the good work. Keep up the good work, Bob. Thank you so much, Chunky Cut. I appreciate that. And for that, I am going to salute you with, I think tonight it's going to be a tomahawk. My Elmer Roosh North American Woodlands spiked tomahawk. This thing, I got it at Blade Show last year, so it's probably about a year old at this point. And it's been in my possession slightly less long. This is cool. I 5160 and it's two different steels, and now I don't remember what they are, but I do have the card somewhere. But the steels at the about halfway down the shaft, and the blade are harder than the steel in the center, which absorbs all the shock. From use, this is based on the kind of tomahawk they used in the North American woods before this country was settled and as it was being settled. And I just love this. It is a fast, light weapon and just beautifully, beautifully made. So this is for you, Chunky Cut. Thank you, sir. It's rare that I salute with a tomahawk. I had to be careful with that. This one's for you. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Well, let me put this back where it goes, which right now is not in a proper place. James says, Bob, with the 16 candles. Thank you. I messed it up. I know I messed it up. He's probably like, yeah, he's close anyway. Thank you. It's not, you don't spell it, son. You eat it. Yes, great. Chunky Cut, Shirogorov, Koenig, etc. are Trinity Plus levels. Okay. All right, Chunky Cut. I'm hearing that, and I'm agreeing. Here, I'm putting forth my additions. The Evatac Shadow Ranger. The Shadow Ranger. That sounds very mysterious and also very tactical at the same time. So here are some additions that I say they belong. Honestly, I like the Kaiser Butcher, while a mini cleaver fixed, which is a mini cleaver fixed blade. Yeah, that is a cool little knife. I don't own it, and I don't have it, but I observed it when it came out. Ash, good to see you here. We're talking about our Trinity of knives and the original one, and have they been supplanted? A lot of people say yes, and then they mention knives, a whole different set. I'm adding on to this. and I'll show you what I think deserves to sit here. My Trinity is actually my Hinderer Jurassic, Chris Reeve Knives Umnumzon, and Sharp by Design Mini Tempest. Ooh, Sharp by Design, that's a nice thing to throw in there. So Spartan Harzy Folder clearly has a spot here, because to me, this distills out all the best qualities of these two knives, and really pushes them to a stouter level, if more stoutness can be achieved. Kevin Moore, good to see you here, sir. Even into the finest community around. I like the way that sounds. What's up, y'all? Bunch of knife junkies. Well, tell us, Kevin Moore, what's your triumvirate? What's your royal triumvirate of knives? I'm taking the original, and I'm adding on, and I say the Spartan Harzy Folder definitely belongs in there, in that group. Kevin Moore says, hope this evening finds you folks doing well. Well, me, it does. And I get the feeling some of these others out here also too. Hit the like button, please. Just that thumbs up button. It helps. James says, how about a trinity of South African knife makers? Des Horn, Andre Thorburn, and Gareth Bull? Yeah. I mean, you would know better than I, but I know them all well enough to say yes. Who else? There's someone else I was just talking about the other day who could fit in that, or maybe hasn't been around long enough to fit in there, but is a very talented South African. I know there are many. Chunky Cut says, oh, nice. Second time I've been a tomahawk saluted today. Oh, wow. I keep a cold steel Warhawk in the truck for fun. That's awesome. Very nice. Yeah. I keep a, what is it? A Schrade that my girls got me once. It's got a spike. I like it. James Moore says, here's my take on the high-end production CNC Trinity, Koenig, Shiro, and the Riot made Sharp by Design knives. Is that because the Sharp by Design designs are superior and Riot does a good job? Or are you saying Riot does an especially good job on those knives, and so you wouldn't include all Riots? Chunky Cut says, I keep wavering on the Spartan Harzy Folder purchase. No sharpening choil keeps you from doing it. Like, I got you. I got you. I got you. I mean, there are a couple of reasons you might not like this folder. The sharpening choil is one of them. And the other one is, it's very sharp. Don't get me wrong. It's very sharp, but it's got a sort of an oblique geometry that this is a great candidate for a hollow regrind, but it would lose some of its feel, I think. It would lighten it up, obviously, but it is so stout. It's worth checking it out, because I do believe you could get your money back on resale. Probably. I don't know. ADV Alpha is an elegant workhorse. I like the ADV knives. We don't hear much about them. I know Therapeutic Edge has a couple, or had a couple, and really, really talked them up. Ooh, fixed blades. Oh, Chris, I love it. Winkler, Essie, and Bark River for me. That's a great triumvirate right there. Yeah. Yes, very nice. Quack says, I think there's still a good case for Chris Reeve Knife, Stryder, and Hinderer in regards to being hard users on washers. Thank you. Thank you for putting the right spin on it. Here's something else I would add. Not spin, but for clarifying or putting a finer point on it. Here's another one I would add to it, and that is the Les George Knives VSEP. Definitely in this category for me, in that it is a robust as hell, smooth as hell, hard use titanium, and not for nothing, good looking folder. Love that knife. So that definitely belongs in there. Here, since we all know what these are, I'm going to put them off over here so we can show off what the newbies will be. So yeah, Spartan Harzy folder, Les George VSEP, and then I would also say, what do you think of this? This is the only one in my list, or the only one that I'm showing right here that has bearings. But I think that the Shark Lock featuring 80/20 by Demko Knives. I think that this fits in here too. So this has gone from a Trinity to whatever a six factor number is. It's gone from a Trinity to a septimity, and I'm taking it even further here. Lastly, I would add to this. So what do you think? Can we do this? Can we put the Demko 80/20 in here with this? Obviously, it's hard use. Obviously, it's robust, and a lot of innovation has gone into the design. R.J. Martin, Shirogorov, Koenig, and Randall make good Holy Trinity +1. Yeah, R.J. Martin. I mean, yeah. But he's not. I would hardly call him production. Right? He's so far outside of production. Unless does he do any sort of mid-tech? That'd be cool. I think his designs are amazing. And also, one of the most used knives in this house is an old R.J. Martin designed Swift or something like that I got from my wife. It's a Kershaw Speed Safe, and I got that for her years and years ago, and I've gotten her many other more premium knives in the meantime that she ignores, and she always goes back to that R.J. Martin. Hey, there's no accountant for taste. Chunky Cut says, fixed blade. Think I'm getting the Hungless 2 next. Seems about the right size. So I have this. This is the not the Hungless. This is the RTAC 2, and this was the progenitor, I believe, of the Hungless. So it's a big knife. Mine, I ended up. I used it quite a bit, and a lot of the coating started to come off. So I took some airplane stripper, is what it's called, aircraft stripper. I don't know. I guess it's what airplane owners use to strip paint off their airplanes, I guess. I don't know. But I used it and removed the rest of the coating, and I really like it. Just the raw 1095. This is a great knife. I don't use it that much. I kind of forget I have it sometimes because it's mounted to my desk here in a sheath, a custom-made sheath from a maker that I was hip to by Nut and Fancy back in the day when I was watching a lot of Nut and Fancy. So I think it's a great knife, and man, I will only encourage you in the purchase of that most excellent large fixed blade knife. Nick says, LOL, we often forget that with a lot of these knives were made for very specific purposes. Yeah. There was a period of time where you just weren't expected to trust a pocket knife unless it was built like a tank. And now, there's a lot more variety and nuance. James Moore says, Bob, Brian Nadeau does such a thorough job in the CNC details. Yes, I see. He sends to Riyadh that they can't help but make great knives from them. Yes, that makes perfect sense. And also, I don't know. I'm sure other companies could execute like his detent, but I've experienced that Sharp by Design detent in Alex's arch nemesis, which he loaned me, which I'm still grateful for. I still talk about how awesome that knife is. That and the Riot made Tempest that Hero Sticks loaned me. Those are the two Sharp by Design knives that I've experienced, besides the ones I tried over at Blade Show. And they do all have a certain feel. That detent is different. Instead of the ball, it's that tab that fits in the slot. And, it's all the same concept. It's just a different design. And man, it feels great. It works great. And Riot does, mass produces it so well. And yeah, what you're saying is that it's because Brian knows his shit so down. He's got it so down pat that he can send them the most specific and granular instructions on CNC. That's pretty cool. Blade Ogre says, would keep Chris Reeve and Hinderer, but would add Medford, removing Stryder. Okay, all right. Interesting. Stryder has always, to me, been the sort of the weak link, and I don't mean weak as in like the knives are weak, but the weakest. I mean, I remember it took me years. Well, much like Medford knives, it took me years to look at a Stryder and be like, and not think it was the ugliest knife. Um, now my eyes are used to Stryders, and I actually find them good looking. Dan, good to see you. Dan Satermo. I say yes to the Demco. Okay. All right. I thought most sane heads would. And yeah, I think that makes sense. Um, but yeah, Medfords are kind of ridiculous and kind of ugly, but they're pretty awesome and on washers and tough as hell and sharp as hell and robust as hell. So yeah, I think you're right. I don't know if I would excise the Stryder, but I would definitely add Medford in there. Chris Wolf says 80/20 is really nice. I quite like that one. I do too. I do too. I don't carry mine as much right now. I went through a severe honeymoon phase with this knife and carried it all the time about a year ago, actually. But other knives have come in and distracted me and sung their siren songs and pulled me away. Trinity to the Mount Olympus. Trinity to a Mount Olympus. Just a large amount of quality knife makers out there. Oh, I see what you're saying. It's gone from a Trinity to a Mount Olympus. Yes, yes. Yeah, I see what you mean. It is true. It is true. And the processes have changed a bit too. Where there could be a knife on this list that's designed by an enthusiast and made by an OEM. There doesn't happen to be, but that could happen too. So individual makers doing mid-techs, people using OEMs. Blade Stuff. What's up, everybody? Late to the party here, Blade Stuff. Good to have you here, man. Speaking of late to the party, my midweek supplemental podcast came out yesterday with 5 late to the party knife reviews with featuring, besides all the usual stuff, featuring 5 quick reviews of knives that I'm ashamed I missed the boat on initially. So I've acquired them since, like the Scoria and the Towser K and others, and the CEO, and had a chance to talk about those at long last. Chunky Cut says the Sharp by Design, compare it to a Shirogorov 111 if you can put it into words. Shirogorov 111. Well, that doesn't help me, unfortunately. And the only reason I say that is because I haven't experienced the Shirogorov 111. But I intend to. Chunky Cut, I intend to. Hero Sticks, Trinity of Fixies, Steingraber Shark, Pinkerton Smilodon, and Nordsmith Canteen Knife. Wow, I like that very, very varied selection. You've got the Steingraber Shark, which is just a pure cutting performer. You got the Pinkerton Smilodon, which is a double-edged Pical's, very cool looking Pical Tanto style something or other blade. Really cool knife. And then you have the Nordsmith Canteen Knife. Nordsmith Knives is David C. Anderson from the Knife Center. That's his line of knives for outdoors that he has designed and has made by L.T. Wright. And that canteen knife is the small, I think it's like a small Nesmuk. Man, that's a great Trinity there, Hero Sticks. I like it. Blade Boy SFV, Caswell Knives EDX. That's if I'm thinking what Winter Blade Co. Factor and Demco 80/20. Okay, from the first 2 knives, I bet you like the Shark's Foot blade on that 80/20. I'm just betting. The Caswell Knives EDX is really cool, and it's a very, 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 very rare bird. I think Alex had one for a short time. Now that I know that he's here with us, he's had some crazy knives, and I'm pretty sure he had one of these Caswells. That's kind of it's almost a lozenge shaped sheep's foot knife with all sorts of crazy engineering, as Caswell is known for. He's the guy who designed the Morphin Karambit. So yeah, nice Trinity. Quack says, this reminds me of the Mount Rushmore of knives. Yeah. Oh, YouTube tag last year. That's funny. I don't remember that one, but I like that. Mount Rushmore of knives. Chunky Cut says, love for you to have an interview with an American knife company that will do own work like a Best Tech, and for them to go into the economic details about it. Well, we did. We talked with uh, give me a second. Give me a second. It's on the tip of my tongue. And well, we've spoken to two American OEMs. We talked to Dauntless Manufacturing, but we also talked to Jim. Help me out. Guy, father and son who used to work at Chris Reeve Knives in Utah, split off, make their own company. Everyone knows their name. They're out there in Utah. They do pretty expensive OEM work. They did some stuff with Drop, and it will come to me. It'll come to me, but it's very difficult. This kind of OEM work, doing it in the United States is very difficult. It's a matter of economics. You know, things can be done for so much cheaper in China, and there are so many more people, so many more engineers over there. But help me. Who is it? Someone out there. Who made the Schwartz? Some of the TJ Schwartz knives, like the Overlander, Mid-Tech, and it's going to drive me nuts now. But interesting question. Check the private chat. Thank you. I'm looking right at it. Millet Knives. Thank you. Millet. Josiah DeMille. Yes. Millet Knives is one of the premium OEMs. Jim, you're fucking funny. Is one of the premium OEMs in this country, and it is not. It's mostly not tenable for the makers, for the designers, I should say. So I'm a knife junkie, and I'm designing a knife, and I want to have it built. I'm not going to be able to afford to have Millet knives make it, probably, because I'm not established and I don't have a lot of money to spend on American manufacturers, small mill manufacturing, though they are working on making that as doable and affordable as possible. But at this point, it is a very hard row to hoe. But yeah, we talked to two companies about that. Dauntless Manufacturing is a smaller outfit, and it's two guys. One of them is full-time, the other is part-time. At least that was 2 years ago when I interviewed them. That may have changed at this point, but they also do some really cool work for some custom makers, and do some small batch manufacturing. So it is happening. It's just kind of slow, and has to be done in conjunction with other things. Medford, we were talking about Medford before. Medford does a bit of their own OEM for other companies, as does TRM. Though I know TRM is trying to get out of that and just OEM parts as opposed to OEMing whole knives. But it is happening here. It's just not nearly as tenable to make a go at making any money doing it if you try and build it here. Yeah, right now. I mean, hopefully that changes. Okay, so another addition, and this is a recent addition, G&G Hawk. Yes, indeed. They're awesome. They're cool guys, too. Doing it all in a barn. The idea that Chris Reeve Knives, Hinderer, and Stryder are some kind of holy trinity of knives is silly. Redacted. It wasn't silly at a time when we weren't awash in amazingly modernly produced knives. So at one time, it actually was a legitimate ranking. Those really were, in the realm of production knives, the hardest use, most robustly built knives. They were. And then, you might say cold steel. Yeah, they've always been, but that's not titanium and nice steels and stuff at the time. It was a different ball game. Kepmuk says, I am going to get on the Canteen bandwagon and say one of those. Shining Mountain Bowie. Oh yeah, your knife, Bob. And the LT Wright Knives Genesis. Open door to controversy here. A flat grind and 3V. A flat grind. Well, what should it be? Shouldn't it be a flat grind? Shouldn't that knife be a flat grind with a convex grind? Or am I just painting with a broad brush? Nick Martino says, I would love to see companies like Hogue and others get into OEM work. Yeah. Maybe when they expand capacities, like Benchmade did a lot of OEM work for a long time and cut that out in 2016, I think. Chunky cut the Trinity. You just had to be there. Probably like Woodstock. That's right, Sonny. That's right. None of the kids these days know a goddamn thing about sharp stuff. This is another one. That's pretty good. Just like Woodstock. This is another one I add. This is the knife that started this conversation for me. Byron says the new trinity of traditionals: Lion Steel, Jack Wolf, and Pena. Oh yeah. Or GEC Case Boker. Interesting. I wouldn't put Case in there anywhere. Not that they're not a part of a trinity, but if we're talking new traditionals. Oh, I see what you're saying. I think I like the first one: Lion Steel, Jack Wolf, and Pena. GEC, I put GEC in a different area than all three of those. Lion Steel made in Italy, Jack Wolf and Pena made in China, and that's all good. And I'm assuming when you say Pena, you're talking about the production stuff. But and made in other countries, and that's actually not why I'm bringing it up, but made with the most up-to-date contemporary processes and machines, whereas GEC made on 100-year-old machines, by sweating craftsmen. So kind of a different thing there. So this knife, this is the one I've been showing off recently, the Resco Instruments Goose Works Mekong Delta Combat Folder. Resco Instruments is a watch company. It's a couple of frogmen, as they say, who started a watch company, and they also started this making knives. And this is the second one that I know of. There's an earlier Resco Instruments knife that had a clip point blade and a 4-finger choil handle. I don't remember what it was called, but that's the book that was featured in the book I was talking about before, whose title I still can't remember. Because the Trinity, you had to be there. You young whippersnapper, get off my lawn. So this thing, the reason I put this with them is because it feels like a Spartan Harsey folder and a Sabenza had a real nice night in Vegas together and sired this knife. It's so solid and so incredibly smooth. No, it doesn't drop shut. You spoiled brat. You have to put some work into closing it, just like the Trinity. But it's got this glassy smooth washer action and is just solid as hell. It's got all of this weight reduction on the inside and still feels like a brick. And to me, I love that. I don't know why that is. And it's not a brick. It's what, 5 ounces? It's not that heavy, but it's got a very solid feel to it. I love this knife. And yeah, it's made its way into this. So, I mean, for me, and me always, coming up in the folding tactical, folding weapony kind of knife world, these were the big guys, but I've added to them. And I think obviously everyone has, and no one has to pay attention to any of this stuff. It was just kind of a widely accepted thing for a while. And obviously things evolve and change, and China has changed the game radically. The whole mid-tech idea has changed things pretty radically. And then the ability for you and me and everyone else we know who loves knives, it's within reach that every single one of us can have our own knife. I don't want to say within reach like, oh yeah, we can all just go out and buy the software and have time to learn the software and afford all that, but and afford the whole process of OEMing a knife. But the point is, if we really want to, we could figure it out, because it's there for us. It's there for the taking. And so So the conversation has changed radically from these 3 knives that were considered the pinnacle of quality and in this case, hard use quality, has just it's been obscured completely by a crowd of exceptional, amazing knives, you know? I hate to say they're a dime a dozen because they're a lot more expensive than that, but it's not hard to find a good knife. For instance, here's your $40 Kubi Flash. This thing is awesome. And oh, it's not heirloom quality. Oh yeah, does D2 steel melt after one person's lifetime? No. This every single one of the knives, including your gas station knives, are heirloom quality in that at least they will last longer than you will. Now, are they quality enough to want to hand down? That's really what people mean when they say heirloom quality. I understand that, but I rest my case because I can't remember what it was. Kevin Moore says, carried the wee banter in blue. Oh, yes, I noticed this. You broke some rules today, but it's charming. Kevin Moore, he carried the wee banter today in blue, G10. He also carried the Civivi baby banter. And I know last week he's like, yeah, but one's a wee and one's a Civivi, so it doesn't count. Don't get smart with me. Don't get smart with me. The wee banter and the Civivi baby banter are the same knife. Oh, no, they're not. They feel different. One's small and the other one's in. There's a choilet. Same knife. A Victorinox Cadet in blue A-locks. The Quill XL. Very nice. The Rule number 9 coin and the brass pocket egg. What's that? And of course, I know the difference between the Civivi and the Wii, and they are both very, very nice knives. That you're just not permitted to carry them together. That's all. But tell me about this this pocket egg. I'm fascinated. Chris Wolf says Jack Wolf actually has me looking into slip joints. Dude, do it because I'm serious. I mean, Ben has been on this show a bunch of times, and if you've seen any one of them, you know how serious he is. And this man is on a mission. He is serious and he knows his stuff. And these knives have just turned out incredible. They've turned out incredibly. And the walk and talk, if you're going to get one slip joint, get one of these. Get one of these. Not only will you be supporting a brother in the knife community, while you'd be doing that with any knife you get, but this is someone we know, a friend. He's a friend of ours, you know. Not only that, these are really, really awesome, and they hit all the right notes. Full height hollow grind, M390, super, super thin. You could sharpen this legitimately all the way to the top of that triangular sharpening notch and have it just as thin behind the edge as it is where the edge is currently. It has such a tight fit. It looks seamless from the top. You can barely see where the blade tang meets the, well, you can barely see it because my camera's not focusing. But here, you can barely see where the blade tang meets the spring. That's titanium. That's an integral titanium bolster and liners. That means the bolster and the liners are the same thing. It's not a bolster soldered atop a liner. It's all one solid piece. These things are incredible, and every single tiny minute detail has been thought and rethought and engineered and re-engineered on these things. So there's my sales pitch. I highly recommend you jump on the Jack Wolf. And I think the laid back Jack, personally, with the first knife, the gun stock Jack, called the Sharpshooter, lot of had a big head of steam on it. People went crazy over it, but a couple of weeks later, there are still a couple of left. I thought they were going to sell out immediately. These, I think, are going to go very quickly, because the sway back and that Warncliffe blade are, I think, the most popular and the most desirable pattern for traditional slip joint knives across all knife lovers. In other words, the guy who doesn't like the slip joint but just wants a slip joint is, on the whole, more drawn to those swaybacks for some reason, or I don't know. So I would say jump on that Jack Wolf. But a new one coming out each month. Keep your eyes peeled. Buddha Flash. Hi, all. Well, it's good to have you here, Buddha Flash. I agree with you, Bob. Holy Trinity in 2013, but I don't know about now. When it comes to Trinity, does it have to be a U.S. production? That's an interesting question. Well, no. All of mine are that I've laid out here. But here's one that I was thinking of putting in, but it's not as and I wouldn't use this one. But I thought about this, the SOCOM Bravo. And then I thought quickly, well, I wouldn't add the Reich made SOCOM Bravo before I would the American made aluminum SOCOM Elite that I have. And that's not just because it's American, but because of Stasa 23's video on hard using this knife. And he said a couple of things in there that simply about this knife should have a screw right here, holding it together right there. And he explains why, and it's a great video. And just that little tiny bit of knowledge uh, kept this out of the running here. But also, I would happily add Microtech to this list because they are some pretty amazing knives. Chunky Cut says Resco Instruments just needs a longer model name, but it's a good looking knife. The Resco Instruments Goose Works Mekong Delta Combat Folder doesn't just roll off the tongue for you. I think Goose Works is kind of a little separate entity, or at least a name they're giving for the knife side of things. Trinity of European custom makers. I am biased, but will go with Dmitry Sinkovich, David Lespect, and Sergei Shirogorov. That is a very respectable list. That is a very respectable list, and I would agree with you, man. And David Lespect, yeah, and Sinkovich. Oh my goodness, yes. Dino N, good to see you here, Dino. Hey Bob, just ordered another knife from BGM Knives, the Quaken. Do you still feel the same about them? Yes, I do, and I would imagine he's only better. I mean, I got mine a little over a year ago at this point. I love the Quaken and the hollow grind. You can get it how you like it from BGM, and if you like a hollow grind, I recommend that because that dude can hollow grind a knife. And one of the worst cuts I've ever given myself was with his knife, and I can still see the scar. Well, you can't, but I can still feel the scar, and I feel a tightness when I stretch my fingers. And I will always think of that Quaken. It's so thin. It was one of those cuts that I was like, I think the edge just touched my finger, and I looked down for confirmation, and the blood. There's like a tiny line, and then a little bit of blood seeped out, and then it gushed. And then I started to feel it. That's how sharp it was. It was pretty nasty. So that's my endorsement. Yes, you will love it. And yes, I do feel the same about it. Though if I were to get a second one, I would get a micarta handle on it this time. I got lace, the cord wrap, and I really like cord wrap, and it's thinner and it's easier for me to conceal carry. But next time, I also like the way he does his 3D, materials like G10 and micarta. Darth Vapor, good to see you. Hello from Marbella, Spain. Marbella, Spain. Marbella. Sorry. Well, it's good to have you here, Darth Vapor, and from Spain, no less. That's funny. My wife was just talking about when she was in Spain tonight at the dinner table. Love the show. Couldn't afford one of the Trinity back in the day. Now I can. I'd rather have an Olamic or Koenig. That's great. That's what we're hearing. The Koenig keeps coming up. I always thought, oh, I don't need to worry about this Koenig thing because I don't like the way it looks. And then at Blade Show last year, I saw one in person and held it and caressed it and flipped it. And I was like, oh, damn. Yes, it is worth the hype. And it is so fine. Really fine. I'm with you on the Koenig. And I also understand your whole idea of like in 2013, when it was the big thing, you couldn't afford it. Neither could I. The funny thing is, I've been thinking a lot about how people tend to get trapped in their fashion during whatever time it was, that they were coming of age. And so they continue with that fashion because that's where that's where it all gelled for them. And like, yes, okay, I get it. I like bootcut jeans, and well, those things have gone out of style, but I still wear them. Like, I'm not a skinny jeans guy. I just never have been. So I'm kind of stuck in that. I think that was kind of the early 90s. I think I'm kind of stuck there maybe. Well, I think that can happen with other things like knives and like taste in knives. And I mean, I developed a taste that never left for those kind of really hard use tactical knives, and they just still, I don't know, that thing just still sticks with me. But I have room in my heart for more like Olamic and Koenig, though I don't like Olamic that much, I gotta say. uh, I'm not sure why. I should, because they make some pretty big knives and I like bigger folders. And also, that Busker is a really, really sweet little knife. It's just ugly as sin. Kevin Moore says, I'm waiting on the new petrified fish Scholar in olive wood. Can't wait. I don't know that one, but I know you've been digging on your beluga a lot lately. So I'm sure it's going to be sweet. Pixel Jedi, good to have you here. Greetings, Bobby D. All of my sharp brethren. And he throws up his Malocchios there. More modern traditionals need to have stonewash. Interesting redacted. It's funny you should say that, because this Jack Wolf that I was holding up before, I could not get the light to not flare off of the blade, because it's got that machine satin, and it looks nice, but it is a fingerprint magnet. It drives me a little bit up a wall. So I think that's an extremely valid point from my experience. Stonewashed. Just bring the stonewash. Tri-State EDC. Good to see you here, sir. Oh no, I'm simming in NyQuil and dozing fast. Simming? Oh man, and dozing fast. Just stopped by to say hi. Got Nereus and Nkosi and Singo in the. Oh my God, in the past 4 days. Love them both. Have a good night, everyone. Tri-State, have a great night. Nkosi and Singo. That sounds just awesome. NAF Sergeant just unboxed one, and I was looking at it like, why do I not have one of those? And now everyone's talking about this Arius, not this Arius, but everyone's talking about the Arius, and I got to get one. What can I say? Stooley J, have a wonderful night, Cole. Stooley J says, not sure about Reich, but Riot deserves a place in this conversation. I could care less about country of origin. Their work is top notch, full stop. I would have to agree with you, Stooley. Riot for sure. Really, they are top notch. That's not exactly what we're talking about. Tri-State EDC, I think Koenig needs to be in the new Trinity. All right. So okay, so let's just say that they are, because everyone thinks that, and I agree, and I am agreeing for now. Tactile Knife Company, Koenig, and CRK should be the new Trinity. Keeping CRK. Okay, so Hinderer has dropped off and Stryder has dropped off. Keeping Chris Reeve knives. I gotta say, if it had to go down that way, if two had to drop away, I think I would agree with you on that. I think Rockstead deserves an honorable mention. Rockstead, man, I did not think of them, but yeah, they're pretty amazing. Dan says, yeah, they are pretty amazing. I'm just thinking about the finishes, the mirror polishes on their blade, and how they must add to performance. Dan Satermo says, I have to always tell my wife to never buy me anything skinny or slim fit. I'm 200 pounds, for Pete's sake. Yeah. Exactly. And there comes. I'm just lucky that I didn't freeze in time, fashion wise, at some really unwise juncture in my own, dressing, or like when I had my hair that came way down here, And my sister used to say, "You have like the broken neck syndrome." What do you think? Who do you think? That those days, I'm glad I didn't stick in those days. Chunky Cat says, had an Olamic Rainmaker for all of 2 weeks. My dad handled it and still has it. I love that. I mean, what are you going to say? No, Dad, you only gave me life. You can't hold on to my knife. I think that's cool. Good for you, man. Gary says, in my opinion, the new Trinity should be USA made. Okay, so what are they, Gary? If are they the old Trinity, or is it some? If we're going to develop, maybe we could actually do this right here. Maybe this this could do it right here. I mean, I am so smitten with the Goose Works knife that I would do that. I would say you could do that and call that the new Trinity, at least for me. And only in adhering to the original sort of framework. To me, the Koenig Arius is just a finer knife than any of these. And by fine, I'm not saying like uh, 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 necessarily better, but finer, more refined in all of its delicacies and such. Tactile, nope. Full stop. Lots of full stops tonight. Tactile, you don't like. Okay, wait. Hang on, Jim. Who was that? I'm sorry, I spaced. Oh, Pixel. Let me know why. What is it about tactile? What don't you like about tactile? I'm interested. I want to know. Stoolie J, I mean, because you said full stop. That sounds like no fucking way. That's what that sounds like to me. Stoolie J says, to be fair, Rockstead deserves their own damn category. I think you might be right. I think you might be right about that because they are just a production company, right? They're a production knife company, but they're making stuff that's a little bit different. Bell bottoms were just a bit before my time, says Dan. Yeah, bell bottoms are touchy too. You know, like you can, you start cutting out triangles and sewing in the American flag, and then you know you've gone too far. James says, Chris Reeve knives has a lot of fans. Their popular models don't work great for my hand, and I wish they'd come up with a new design someday. What is it, Dan? Because their models don't work well for your hand, and when you say that, the first thing I thought of was the Umnumzan. The Umnumzan, to me, is quite comfortable, but I have heard, and I think that might be, I have kind of slender fingers, slender hands, and my forefinger fits perfectly in this area here, just north of that. I have heard people say that this sort of thin lock bar irritates their fingers. To me, this is a very comfortable and neutral handle, but the Sebenza 21, to me, there's nothing to it. It is so neutral. And I'm wondering, is it because James, do you have like very large hands, or is there something about the shapes, like the actual profiles, that bother you? But I also hear you, and this, to me, you're saying you wish they'd come up with new models, and occasionally they do, or they'll revamp an old model, make it even better. But there's something to admire about a company like, say, Spyderco, that has a bunch of models, and it's pretty reliable that whatever you get from them will probably be high quality. And then I'm sorry, Jim, can you go back at just one? And then so I like that. Lots of different models, lots of variety, all high quality, reasonably so. Or 1, 2, 3, or 4 limited, much more limited catalog of models that you work on obsessively year after year to perfect. I mean, those two things are kind of opposite ends of a scale, and I like and respect and see why you would do both things. For me, my temperament, I would be, if I owned a knife company, it would be more on the Spyderco end of things. Oh, let's try that. Oh, let's try that. Let's try that. But I also really respect that idea of this design started off really, really amazing, and we're just going to make it until it's perfect. And I respect both. Let's see. Koenig, Chris, Custom Knife Factory in Shirogorov. Custom Knife Factory. That's an interesting choice, because they're a Russian company who has their knives made in China mostly, right? And very interesting designs, but also a wide spread. There's one knife, and I can never remember what it's called, and people have reminded me here. But it's got a nail neck. It's by a Custom Knife Factory. It's got a nail neck and a clip point blade, and a beautiful handle, and it looks like a traditional knife, but I think it's a liner lock. And then they have the crazy, like the things like the Decepticons and stuff. But Goose Works over Medford, yeah, yep. As is evidence of the fact that I no longer have my Medfords, but I actively sought this out, and I stick by that. Though I do regret getting rid of my my slim MIDI. I do regret that. But I do not regret getting rid of the Praetorian. Cool knife to have and to show off and to use as a cast member here on the show. But I never ever carry that knife. It's ridiculous, is what it is. But ridiculous can be great. Demko knives should be in the conversation too. I agree. Now, Demko knives is kind of an interesting case. I know they just came out with a new knife designed by John Demko, but I think they fall more into the camp of having a couple of models and perfecting them. And then right now they're working on the 80-20 and 80-20.5 almost exclusively, though I saw they made at least an 80-10 all titanium. I'm pretty sure they're probably doing more. They just dusted it off for Blade Show only, custom 80-10 that they posted on Instagram. Just looked so delicious, so yummy. But yeah, I'm with you. So they are more on the perfect a couple of designs end of things. Bob, these podcasts could be so much better if you were rocking your flock of seagulls phase. Yes. Yeah, I agree. What? Psh, the establishment. I'd be saying stuff like that. The establishment. What do you mean, Bob? I have no idea, but the establishment. Pixel Jedi. Hey, at least hey, at least I don't have that haircut anymore. Pixel Jedi says, Tactile has only made knives for like 2 years, sir. Let's see what happens when demand exceeds production by orders of magnitude. Orders of magnitude, well, yeah, let's. Hopefully they keep up with it. They've done a pretty good job with their pens. To be honest, I think pens are their own headache and knives are a different headache. And yeah, they've been making them for 2 years. I did not put them on the list. They're to me personally, it's too small, and it's a great knife. It's sharp. It's really good little EDC knife, but we're talking more hard use. But so you don't like them because they haven't been around long enough, and you're not sure they could keep up with demand. But what do you think about the knives that exist so far? Do you think they're off to a good start? Do you think they're going in the right direction? I mean, they make everything in-house except for their stop pins. Every part, every single part, including the screws and the pivots and everything in-house except for their stop pins, which, are made down the street in Texas. So is it well, I guess what I'm saying is, what do you think of the knives that exist already? Forget about, pretend they've been around longer. Would you like the knives? Do you like the knives so far? I could see how they're not for everyone. Blade Boy SFV says, of the current Trinity, CRK is the only one having post of all sorts of different issues. Why keep that over the other two? Keep having. Wait, so you're saying Chris Reeve Knives is the only one having all sorts of different issues? Why keep that over the other two? I'm not exactly sure what you mean. Are they having issues? Oh, or do you mean that Hinderer and Stryder are having issues? Clarify. I'm interested. I think I'm not reading it right, and so my brain isn't getting what you're saying. Mike says, I have a soft spot for anything with a 3.75 inch compound grind or hollow grind and a backspacer. Automatically make it a shoe in. That's awesome, man. I like that. That's I 3.75 for sure. I don't have to have a backspacer, but I like a backspacer. You can it feels, maybe it's the weight that makes it feel more rigid or solid when you have a backspacer. but I have to say, when I don't have one, I don't miss it. Agent Orange Peel says, I really like Rockstead, but that warranty, just the original owner, come on. I didn't know that. That's interesting. So I guess Rockstead's pretty damn serious. I'm about to start referring to Chris Reeve Knives as simply Reeve Knives because his father no longer runs it and quality control issues. Okay. So you've had quality control issues. These I have not heard of. I'd be interested to hear what your experience has been. Once the Umnumzon breaks in and gets flicky, it's an expensive like no other. Yeah, it is. They're not cheap. They're not cheap. It is interesting. It is interesting what we spend our money on. Quack says, custom knife factory parts are made by Riot, according to someone I know who asked CKF Mike at the show. Oh, okay. Okay, so are you suggesting, Quack, that the parts are made by Riot, but they put them together at the custom knife factory somewhere in Russia? Blade Boy says, tactile knives have their designs made by a different company, do they not? Not when I talked to them, but that was a year ago. I'm not sure if they have, if they've had brought someone else on board, but I know that the gentleman who owns the knife company, or who owns Tactile Turn and then started the knife company, was instrumental in the design of this. Though I'm not sure if they hired any outside. I'm not sure if they hired any outside design talent. FEMA Camp Etiquette for Dummies. I love your name. My Trinity Shirogorov T95 Koenig Arius in Hinderer XM18 Battlefield pickup. That's cool. I like that you're very specific. A Battlefield pickup is cool. That's with the materials to resemble that. James Moore says, I think the only new design Chris Reeve Knives has since Chris Reeve left is the Impinda slip joint. Oh, the one, right, designed by Bill Harsey. They can keep making the old models for decades and still sell them, though. Yeah, that's true. That's true. They're a legacy brand, and and to have Bill Harsey design, I forgot all about that knife. That was a cool looking knife. Anything Bill Harsey touches to me is A, recognizable, and B, beautiful. So that was a great link up there, or collaboration. Mark Herrera says, I'm hoping that Essinx comes out with some more traditional knives. Oh, I don't know Essinx. I need to get to know Essinx. Hey, Jim, let's bring up that Prometheus Design Works OTF. I want to show that off. Buddha Flash. How about Oz? Oh, yeah. Or too small of a company in production? Or do we consider Oz more of a custom? That's interesting. I would not put that knife in this group, only because I wouldn't do with that knife what I would do with this group, theoretically. Okay. Theoretically. Those things I actually do with my cold steels because they cost less and I'm less worried about destroying them. D Rocket Designs by Dariel Caston deserves a spot on the list. He deserves a spot on a list. D Rocket Designs deserves a spot on a list for sure. Very interesting, unique, and very small batch. I don't even know how does he produce them himself? I'm pretty sure he's had Riot produce some of his stuff, but is he doing his stuff all himself? I'm interested. I invited him onto the show once, and he said, let me check your show out and I'll get back to you. And he never got back to me. So I'm not, that's not something I push. Please, can you please come on my show? But I am interested. Does he make his own stuff or what? Innovative. Cody S says, Chris Reeve Knives has a longer wait list than ever. For so many people wanting to hate on them, they're one of the few blades that keeps resale value or increases in value. That's for sure. I don't think there's any reason to hate on them, and I'm not sure if anyone is hating on them. But yeah, you're right. Yeah, people keep coming back for them, and you can sell them and pretty much make your money back. Gary says, Goose Works, Les George, and Spartan Harsey. Gary, you're singing my love language, brother. That's a good lineup. That is a good lineup. I might actually do that only to keep it all washers. So we'll do it like this. I'm just gonna see what it's like if it's just these three here: the Goose Works, the Spartan Harzy, and the VSEP. We'll leave it like that for a minute, though. I think I would start to miss my. I might start to miss my XM. James says, when I first got into knives, I thought the Holy Trinity was Spyderco Benchmade ZT. I like that. Well, that was a trinity of sorts, right? Kind of like high end affordable or whatever. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of hard to talk about what's affordable because everyone's idea is different. Everyone's affordable is different, and then everyone's idea of what they're willing to spend, uh, whether affordable or not, is another thing. Pixel says, I think Tactile is simply what James Brand should have been. The quality is okay. They just don't give me the fizz. I hear you. Yeah, the quality is top notch. I mean, these things, they spend a lot of time machining and putting these things together. But I know exactly what you mean about the fizz. I used to say that about my Sabenza before it started giving me the fizz. It was like, I love this knife. Don't get me wrong. I have major respect. I give it major props, but it doesn't get my heart racing. Uh, so I know what you mean. It gets my heart racing now, but other things don't. So I hear you about this knife. The good thing, though, is you don't have to like it, but it's good to know that there's an that there are American companies, and we know that there are. But this is just another one who is doing well, making everything themselves, and I love that. 9198 David says, love the idea of the Holy Trinity. The same exists in photography lenses. Oh, interesting. I vote for keeping it CRKT, Hinderer, and Stryder. All right. A traditionalist. I like that. That's cool to hear about camera lenses. Blade Boy SFV says it would company only as I think it was if. Yeah, okay. Thank you, sir. If a company would only if a company only has one knife. Thank you, Jim. If a company only has one knife, do they really have the amount of time in the industry to actually be considered a Trinity brand? Come on. No. I mean, I'm agreeing with you. Has anyone? Yeah, I think someone did mention Tactile. I certainly wouldn't. Right, when they were talking about, it was like Koenig, Tactile, and Grimsmo, I think what it was. But I think I'm tending more towards your side of things. Though this is a great knife. I really, really do like and respect this knife. You know, I think the idea is, or is it just a fluke? Beginner's luck and that kind of thing. I tend to think not, but I could also see why you'd want to say, maybe you need to be a part of this club a little bit longer before we put you up at leadership. FEMA Camp Etiquette for Dummies says, the newly designed Curtis F3 has me wanting to buy my first Dave Curtis knife. All right, FEMA Camp Etiquette for Dummies. Do check out NAF Sargent's recent couple of knives on the Curtis F3. I don't know if you know NAF Sargent. You probably do. He's awesome, and I highly respect him. He's actually how I found out about the Goose Works Mekong Delta Combat folder by Resco Instruments. But great videos and really smart guy. He had some major issues with his Curtis F3, sent it back, and it came back with major different issues. So watch those videos and go from there, I would say. NAF Sargent, KNAF Sargent. Sean Hines, good to see you here. Why aren't we talking about Les George? We were talking about Les George because he's part of my updated Trinity. I think Les George is awesome. And also another good little factoid. Oh, his Instagram. I mean, just to see what he's up to all the time. Like today, he was making EOD spikes for explosive ordnance guys over in Ukraine. He's making a whole bunch of them, sending them over. He's a cool guy. That's what he used to do in the Marine Corps, is explosive ordnance disposal. Cool guy, funny as hell, and an incredible maker. With a great collection of daggers. He's got an incredible collection of knives, and sometimes he shows them off on Instagram. And great collection of knives, great guy, very funny, and the maker of probably one of my absolute favorite modern folders of all time, the VSEP. This design is just incredible, and I remember when it came out, people were, is this the Sebenza killer? And I was like, hell yeah. I thought it looked way better than a Sebenza. Now I don't judge that way. Now I think they both look good. Byron says, can we even have a Trinity anymore due to the fact that design, manufacturing, and production and assembly have been divided to many companies for one knife? Well, I think now more than ever, Byron, now more than ever, it's more important to recognize the companies, for instance, like Tactile, who don't do that. But all of those do not a Trinity knife make, because to me, I'm really talking about that base, that core of what are the finest knives now, or no, not so much what are the finest knives now. A lot of people have laid that out with their Grimsmos and their Koenigs and such. The question is the old thinking about what was awesome still relevant? New awesome is great, but is old awesome still great? Please say yes. Buddha Flash says, I think once they can ramp up production, the Monterey Bay Knives Sea Otter might be able to compete. That thing looks awesome. McNeese George Spartan Harsey. McNeese, interesting. The only McNeese I have are these. Be nice. So cool. He's a cool guy. He's a nice guy. Cody S says, hey, Cody, good to have you. He says, I think Trinity is an outdated term. Instead, I try to just focus on brands that are killing it, like Holt, Skiff, and some other small makers like TRM. Oh, yeah, TRM. Holt and Skiff, indeed. Yeah, Trinity, there's just a lot more people at the party, so maybe it's a round table. Maybe it's something else, not Trinity. We have to come up with something cool. Evolved EDC, good to see you here. Hey, Bob, Jim, and everyone. Can't stick around, but wanted to stop by and say hi. Also, keep an eye on my IG, dropping another new design this weekend, as long as the renderings show up on time. Man, keep at it. That's awesome. We will all keep our eyes peeled, and thank you for dropping in. So keep your eyes on Evolved EDC Instagram for the next design drop. CPM, good to have you here, CPM. Brian Nadeau, RJ Martin, Shira Goroff, the holy trinity of action. Right on. RJ Martin, I need to at least pick one up and feel one. I need to experience one for sure. The beauty. I would love to have an RJ Martin knife that is made with that has what do you call it? Tusk from ancient dead elephants. What is that called? Ivory. I would love to have like some old school ivory on one of his knives. I love that blend of modern tactical design with ancient and old materials like that. We're coming up there. I do want to make sure we show off just this Prometheus Design Works out the front and see what everyone thinks. Gary says, I've been on the waiting list for a Zahn for about 3 months now. Wow. Do you keep your eye on the secondary market? They pop up every once in a while. Does a Trinity member have to be both the knife's designer and maker? That would take out several of the proposed new guys. Kind of. I don't know. I don't know. We've kind of thought about that. And to me, there are none of those were in the original list, and none of them are in the list as it moves forward. That's why I didn't include the Microtech SOCOM Bravo, but I could have easily put the Elite in here because it's deserving. Not just because it's another cool American tactical knife, but it's definitely deserving. I have not done so much abuse on mine, but I've watched those videos where they take those aluminum SOCOM Elites and just abuse the hell out of them. Even after they break the blades and do all sorts of nasty stuff to them, they still keep going. So, Jim, before we dip out of here, let's bring up this Prometheus Design Works out the front. What do you guys think of this thing? I lost my page for it. So they just sent this out, sent out a press release, and I saw that Knife News picked it up. Look at this thing. It looks like, does it not look like a Prometheus Design Works knife? Just a beautiful expression of an OTF in their design language. I think it's beautiful. And I think it's actually better looking. And of course, that's where my mind goes. It's better looking than pretty much everything else they do. I gotta say, I do love the shoot knife, and I would love to get that. But this thing with that clip point blade, it's beautiful. It's got an aluminum body, fluted handle. It's got a titanium actuating button with a glow in the dark inlay there, and olive drab and black. I think pretty tactical, but just a beautiful knife. So I'm really looking forward to seeing people's take on this one. Who knows? Maybe after July 1st, when it's legal for me to start carrying automatic knives here in my state. Who knows? Maybe I haul off and buy that thing. But I just wanted to show it off, especially considering earlier before Dave, who I don't think is with us anymore on this broadcast anymore, was carrying his Bally song made by them that actually is designed in that same sort of design language. Looks awesome. Hollywood Tactical just got off work. Sorry, been missing these. No, not a problem. Well, sorry, we're about to dip out of here, man. Next week, I'd love to have you, and we'll do a knife fight together. RJ made Blade Magazine's list of 25 greatest living makers. So did Des Horn. Hey, James, do you have an RJ Martin yourself? Man, I'd love to see that sometime. And my 2 cents, the Holy Trinity is yesterday's overratedness. Tell me how you really feel, Hollywood Tactical. Okay, well, you could look at it that way, and you might be right. But again, like I'm fond of saying, there's no accounting for taste, and sometimes something just gets under your skin, like the Koenig Arius has gotten under so many people's skins, and I've been resisting it for so long, but I feel that storm coming. In today's market, it's a sentimental attachment. That is cynical. No, I would have to say that tradition is not something you just throw out because something new has come along. I say that the tradition is something you keep around, you learn from, and you distill. But you don't just toss it away like so many used napkins. I think you keep them around. Even Riot's production knives are better than most customs. I know, we know this. Okay, so let's just succumb to the robots and give up our humanity. Chunky Cat says Knife Joy had a fair amount of Chris Reed knives in stock earlier today. Over 30. Wow. Over 30 plus. Well, Hollywood Tactical, you better get yourself over there and get you some old-fashioned overratedness. I love it. I like that Hollywood Tactical has an unvarnished view of some of these things, and that I like the dialogue. I've handled several of RJ's, and some friends have and love them. I like a nice Q36, but I'm not into recurve blades. Oh, like he often makes. They're just so, they are just so yummy. All right, guys, I think that about does it for us here this Thursday night. Come on up on Sunday, episode number 316 of the Knife Junkie podcast. Blade Show director Alicia Newton. She's so cool, man. We've been trying for 3 years to do a podcast, and this year it finally worked. We had a great conversation about what goes into planning Blade Show and a whole lot more. So definitely check that out. And then next Wednesday's show, I've been posting a lot of close-up videos also of knives. And then, of course, be sure to join us here again next Thursday on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. Or you can, and you can become a patron by scanning that. A patron. Or going to theknifejunkie.com/Patreon. All right. That's me. For Jim working his magic behind the switcher, I'm Bob DeMarco saying, until next time, please, I beg of you, don't take dull for an answer.